Good afternoon and welcome to the latest Demolition Daily Livestream. I'm your host, Mark Anthony. We're going to go straight into today's guest today because he's a very busy guy. Today's guest is Leo Scott-Smith of Lincolnshire-based technology company Tended. In response to the need for social distancing, Leo's company has really leapt to the fore, creating a wearable wristband that alerts the wearer when they're within 2 meters of a colleague, which is I'm sure you can understand is a great tool to have right about now. So let's get Leo on the stream and ask him some questions. Morning, Leo, or good afternoon, Leo, should I say?
Good afternoon, Mark. Great to be here. Thank you for the time.
Hey, thanks for sparing the time. So before we get started, really, what did Tended do before the pandemic hit? What is the background to the company?
So I'm not actually a techie, is the first thing to sort of mention. My background's actually in charity. So before Tended all started, I was working in third world countries in disaster zones with a variety of different dangers, such as aftershocks, landslides. I even got ambushed once, and I was kind of like, I'm constantly facing these different challenges and in danger all the time. But I'm often with people that don't speak very good English or that haven't got smartphones. So if I was to be involved in one of these serious incidents, nobody would know or be there to offer support. So this idea sort of stuck at the back of my mind that I wanted a device that would effectively check in with me while I was working away in these dangerous zones. One of the scenarios that I had was every night I would ring my mum and say, "I'm safe, I'm still alive, don't worry." So as a result, this concept for a device that would automatically sort of monitor my safety came about. And I got a few people in a room and I said, "Look, this is what I want to do. We're going to create a device that's going to constantly monitor your safety." So we then came up with these, which are wearable devices, very similar to a Fitbit almost, that use different sensors and models based from machine learning to monitor users' movements and work out if they've been involved in an accident. So we create solutions for high-risk industries like construction and demolition and all of those sort of complex industries. And since then, we've slightly pivoted our business during this crisis, and we've created a solution which adds an ultra wideband tag into our wearable system, and this allows us to detect the proximity between two employees within a sub 10 centimeter accuracy. And then by doing this, it means that we can send vibration alerts through to the individuals that are wearing our wearable devices to alert them that they might be getting a bit too close and help them to mitigate some of those challenges of COVID-19.
I was going to ask, how did you manage to iterate that additional functionality in such a short space of time? Is that technology that exists? I mean, I know you're not a techie, but trust me, I'm even less of a techie. So is that the sort of stuff that's just available off the shelf?
So it's not. We are. I've literally, the reason why I've jumped on the call right away was because I was on the phone to our new manufacturers in the UK because we've had to create a whole new product to build into this system. It's technology that exists, so we're not building something from the ground up, but we have had to create a new hardware product and a lot of new firmware and software to go on that. To give you a sort of an idea of timescales, our first product took 18 months to bring to market. We've done this in 8 weeks, so it's we've tried to innovate as quickly as possible to sort of meet the demands. And I think that it's definitely a demand in the market. We only launched this publicly about a week ago, and we've had about 100 inquiries from companies of all sizes, desperate for solutions to help them to return to work quickly and safely.
And just for my aging brain, is this based on I don't know, Bluetooth technology? How does the actual system interact between the two wristbands to calculate how far each other are away?
So that's a really interesting one, because when this challenge was, the reason that I'd love to say that this idea was my own, but it wasn't. It was one of our prospective clients reaching out to us, and they said, "Look, we've got this huge problem. It's costing us into the tens of millions of pounds every week because we can't send people back to work. Can you do anything with your wearables?" So I went to our engineering team, which is made up of 16 people, and I was like, "Look, this is the problem. It's a big opportunity. Like, can we do anything?" And they said, well, I mean, it's a bit challenging with our existing technology because our wristbands are based off Bluetooth. And one of the problems with Bluetooth is that the way that it would work out the proximity between two individuals is using something called signal strength. And with signal strength, it's quite a sort of general, like broad sort of overview, and it means that if there's things in the way or if people are moving quickly, which obviously they're going to be in these heavy industrial environments, it will have a lot of interference. So when it might say that someone is 5 meters away, they could be a meter away. So we had to add an additional bit of technology, and this is ultra wideband, and that uses something called time of flight. In the simplest of terms, it's very similar to like a submarine radar sensor. So it will send out a signal, and then it will wait for that signal to come back, and then within milliseconds it'll find out what the time difference is between those two signals being sent out, and then as a result we can then work out the distance to a sub 10 centimeter accuracy on how far away those individuals are. And even if they're in like dangerous environments with like heavy machinery, that doesn't cause interferences to this signal.
I assume the purpose of these, I know it's very early days, but I assume that it's sort of one wristband per person, and that wristband then stays with them so you don't get cross-infection, and so that you can monitor the results that thing is throwing back to the dashboard, yeah?
It is, but we're having to, as we do with all of our products over the past 2.5 years, is adapting to our customers' needs. And a lot of the queries that we've had coming in recently has been with our potential and existing customers, is that if we've got 2,000-3,000 people on site and they all need to keep their wristbands charged, there are going to be a few people that forget to charge them if it's their responsibility. So we're currently looking into like a bay or a docking system, so that when people come on site, very similar as you might grab, say, a hard hat or some tools, you would grab your wearable device when you walk in, put it on your wrist, clip your tag onto your waistband, and then by doing that, it means that they're constantly charged there and they're always connected. Then at the end of the day, you just drop it back on the charging dock and then leave, and then we will assign users to those devices when they put them on in the morning.
Now, aside from how much it costs, and I'm not going to ask you that because it's one of those how long is a piece of string things, but I guess one of the questions that demolition and construction people will ask is this wearable industry proof? Is it weatherproof? Is it dust proof? Vibration proof? I mean, particularly in demolition where you're using handheld tools, can it withstand all that kind of thing?
So we have IP65 on the wearable, and then IP67 on the tag, and we have when you say vibration proof, one of the features that we're currently going to be building into our roadmap for our technology, because really want to do loads of cool stuff around wearable devices and safety, is HAVS monitoring. So as a result of being able to monitor so hand-arm vibration, you're going to have to have it sort of vibration proof. So whilst it's been run through the sort of rugged nature of a lot of our clients which work in construction and manufacturing, I don't know exactly in demolition, maybe if it's like really heavy working environments, it might not be perfectly suited, but we've definitely designed it with heavy industrial workforces in mind.
Now, I think one of the things that struck me as even more interesting than the wearable itself is the fact that all of this data then feeds back to a dashboard that that the management can monitor, and I guess possibly even train off the back of that. Where there's been, I'm going to use the word encroachments. I'm not sure if that's the right term, but where people have got a bit too close, that data is then analyzable and can be actioned. Is that right?
Yes, yeah. So we the data points that we pick up on, and these are really important, is we look at we don't just look at how many times people have come within a 2 meter range, but we also look at how long they've been in that 2 meters. So we call that the minimum separation distance, and we tell employees how long they've been within that sort of breach of that distance, because one of the most important things with these work sites is that employees are going to come into contact with people within that 2 meter range on a number of occasions every day, it's unavoidable, especially with some of our clients. They have very confined working spaces, but if they're only coming in contact for 2 seconds, that really needs to be logged, as opposed to just saying they came into contact 50 times today. If it's actually only 5 minutes throughout the whole day, it's not quite as bad. But then on top of that, so you can then work out whether people are following the sort of regulations that are set out for social distancing. But we also have a mitigation side as well, which is to help control any potential outbreaks of COVID-19. So as an example, if an employee is sort of contaminated, or you say that maybe an employee has been diagnosed with COVID-19, you can then look across everybody they've been in contact with and say, like, there's a potential risk that you could have been exposed to or contaminated with COVID-19, and then that's like your tier 1. So that's people that have directly been exposed to those individuals. But then you can also look at the people that have been exposed to those as well. So that's your tier 2. So it's very similar to the NHS contact tracing app that you'll have seen in the news a lot. But the way that it works on our side is it's significantly more accurate, because that uses Bluetooth. So it's a better solution to have deployed in a workplace, because in the event that someone is unfortunately diagnosed with COVID-19, if you were just relying on Bluetooth, it's very likely that your whole workforce would have to self-isolate, and that's not really practical, because that would just mean you're effectively going back to what we're currently in now, where a lot of people can't go to work.
I'm just thinking out loud here. Is there any sort of location tracking on this as well? Because I'm thinking about, maybe a large-scale demolition site or construction site. Is it possible to see that, maybe there's a potential hotspot where people are gathering together rather more often than is perhaps sensible, or am I getting too carried away?
No, so it's a really interesting point, actually. So when you look at location tracking, we don't have that within our technology, because one of the big barriers that any kind of wearable or employee sort of focused technology, particularly in sort of more traditional working environments like construction and demolition, that employers will face by integrating this technology is the stereotypes that come off the back of wearable technology, and the fact that it could be used as a tracking device, and employees don't want to be tracked. So that, there's a stat, I think it was the BBC, that said 2/3 of employees are against using any form of technology that could potentially track them. So our technology specifically is designed so it does not enable tracking. We can take an employee's location in the event they're involved in an accident, because obviously it's paramount that people know where they are and they can respond to that incident as quickly as possible. However, one of the areas that we are looking at is geofencing, so we can look at different zones. So they're not specific to where employees are, but more just generalizing where employees could be and geofencing those locations. And that could be something that could be applied to the COVID solution. But again, something that we work a lot on is working across the board with industry leaders in terms of in these companies, the unions, the HSE, the governing bodies, and we, as a full circle, we kind of work together to find out what those real core problems are that they're facing. And if one of those that came from that was that they want to know where people are congregating a lot, because that could be like a hotspot, we would then be able to build a solution around that to solve that problem. So whilst we are a team of tech people and we are very sort of focused on creating cool tech products, one thing that we do really like to do is learn from the environments and the industries that we're working within to make sure that we're really solving the problems that they want to solve and not just trying to give them a solution that may not be that relevant.
So where are you in the development now? I mean, is this a product that is commercially available? Could I go out and buy one today, or where exactly are we at the moment?
So you could come out and sign a trial with us, and we would trial the technology within your workplace for a period of time until you are confident that it is suitable for your situation, and then we would look at rolling it out, and we price our model as a per user per month basis. So you're kind of our costs are quite low on that front, because we can help to mitigate some of those larger expenses. But then with the sort of where we're at, so next week we start demoing and trialing with a number of sort of industry leaders in engineering and construction and rail actually as well. So we're ready to go. We've spent the past 8 weeks making sure that this is right, and so we're almost ready to deploy at scale. That's
fantastic. Now I've tried. Trust me, I've tried, but as I said, I'm even less techie than you are, and I can't allow you to do a screen share from my end. It'd have to be from your end. But where can our viewers find out more and possibly see this, a demonstration in action or something similar?
So the best bet is to visit our website, which is www.tended.co.uk, then you can have an overarching view of our solution and how it works. But we have a fantastic team of salespeople, which is literally growing by the day almost at the moment, because there's so much stuff coming in. But that will be able to give you a live demo online, run through it, understand what your problems are as a company, and potentially suggest the best solutions to help solve some of those. And I think one of the great things is, because we've been talking with so many different industries across the board, we really now understand the problems that these companies are facing, and are able to offer suggestions that aren't just a very biased, like, come and buy our technology. It's more, as an ethos behind our company, we generally want to help people improve the safety of their workforce. And if that means giving them a suggestion that isn't just using our technology, then we would do that.
That's fantastic, Leo. Look, I really do appreciate you joining us today, and I certainly appreciate the work that you and your team have done. We are living in a completely different world now, and I do think technology like this is going to be just a requirement. It's going to be part and parcel, much as a hard hat, as you said earlier. So I wish you every success with it. We'll add details of where to find you in the show notes, but in the meantime, I'll let you get back to the day job and to perfecting the product even more.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mark. Thanks,
Leo. All the best. Bye.
Bye.
Right. I hope you found that useful. I certainly did. As I say, once I saw the technology detailed online myself, I went and had a look. It is well worth taking a look at. It's I just never cease to be amazed. I know they always say that necessity is the mother of invention. Well, doesn't that just prove it? 8 weeks to iterate a brand new product that could potentially save lives. So hats off to Leo and his team. As I say, for the show notes, I will add details of where to find all that. Now, I don't know about you, but I spent a lot of my time last night with my nose pressed to my iPad. And there's a couple of things that I'd really like to bring to your attention if, like me, you're looking for something to watch that doesn't involve a politician. The first is the latest episode of the BBC Panorama show that looks at the impact of the COVID-19 outbreak on UK business. It makes for some pretty harrowing viewing, to be honest, particularly the part that involves my mate Andy Hare of Northerntrack. You might recall that Andy was a guest on episode 16 of the Demolition Daily LiveStream. Andy's been a huge supporter of the demolition industry for 30 odd years. In fact, he was among the first to support our Demolition magazine as an advertiser, even before it was even launched. And I personally would be forever grateful for the faith he showed in me and my, at the time, unproven new magazine. I realise that Andy's story is not unique. It's one of thousands, tens of thousands, possibly even hundreds of thousands. But it is really, really painful to see an excellent little company making some really excellent products brought to the brink of extinction by a situation that is totally beyond Andy's control. I would urge you to watch. You can catch the show on BBC iPlayer, or at least you can here in the UK. I'm not absolutely sure how or even if iPlayer works beyond UK shores, but if you can catch the show, I can strongly recommend it. And if you are a financial whiz with ready access to government funding, I'm sure Andy would love to hear from you. Not sure if Andy's watching. Hope he is, but all the very best from everyone at Demolition News. Andy, our thoughts are with you at the moment. Now, having watched that Panorama program for myself, I'll admit I was feeling just a bit sad and powerless when I paid my regular evening visit to LinkedIn. And thankfully for me, another friend, Peter Thompson of vehicle asset tracking specialist CanTrack Global, was knocking around on LinkedIn at the same time. For those of you that don't know Peter, he is probably the closest thing that this industry has to a tech leader. He's Bill Gates without the billions. Steve Jobs without the turtleneck and Mark Zuckerberg without the federal investigation. He's also the only person I know that works from a standing desk. Then again, he's about 11 foot tall, so maybe he just doesn't fit under a regular desk. But Peter is a strictly glass half full man. He's not the type to let a little thing like a global pandemic stand in his way. And this, from last night, was his take on the current situation. And this is verbatim to what Peter said to me. It is precisely these types of scenarios that give us the strength, clarity, and courage to find ways to innovate and pivot our business. Right now is about survival, but it's critical that we use the time to pivot and adapt, as the status quo simply might not return as we know it. Yet the needs for infrastructure, the wider economy, and humankind haven't gone away. Those that figure out how to deliver in the new paradigm can survive and, in time, thrive. People mustn't rely on a return to normal. We're experiencing things we never thought would happen in community and business, and it will leave us all changed. He then followed that up by sending me a link to a video featuring the author Simon Sinek, entitled "There's No Going Back to Normal," that basically reinforced that belief that we can come out of this current hard times better off than when we entered them. I'll add a link to that video in today's show notes as well, but you can find it over on YouTube by searching for "There Is No Going Back to Normal." Peter's words, I guess, are in some ways echoed by what we've just heard from Leo as well. 8 weeks ago, they were doing something very different over at Tended, and now they are producing a solution that might allow people to go back to work rather more quickly and rather more safely than any of us had previously hoped. It was timely as well, the conversation with Peter last night. If you've been around since we started doing these broadcasts, some 40-odd episodes ago, you might recall that I started out saying that the current lockdown was an opportunity for us all to reset and to recalibrate and take a long, hard think about how we do our work and how we live our lives. And I must admit, I said that when I thought we might be producing this show for 2 or 3 weeks. But we're 8 weeks in now, and to be honest, the constant flow of bad news has slowly eroded my optimism and my belief that we could all come out of this stronger and better. But Peter Thompson's words last night were like a reboot to my brain. 8 weeks ago, I was a print journalist, same as I've been for the last 30-odd years. With half a dozen wildly unsuccessful books under my belt, I might occasionally describe myself as an author, although that is probably stretching a point. But today, with a daily video show and more than 250 podcasts to my name, I can probably now qualify as a broadcaster. Now, that was never my intention, and I'm still happier behind a keyboard than in front of a camera. But those are the cards I've been dealt, and I'm planning to roll with it. I'm enjoying these daily broadcasts. I'm enjoying speaking to people like Leo and to Peter and to his colleague John Mussett back in the day. So I'm going to stick with it. I wanted to say a big thank you to Peter for his inspirational words, and I don't use that term lightly. As I say, I went onto LinkedIn, having watched Panorama last night, feeling a bit down in the dumps, a bit sorry for Andy Hare and a bit sorry for myself. And, you know, a few sentences and a link to a video, and all of a sudden I was feeling an awful lot better about the world. I woke up today with a bit of fire under my backside, and I thank Peter for that. I've probably waffled on for plenty long enough now. So I'm going to sign off. Stay safe, as always. I always say exactly the same things, but stay safe, stay positive. I know it's hard, and it's getting harder by the day, but do your very best to stay positive. There is an end. I'm not sure if it's in sight yet, but there will be an end. We will come out the other end. If you do get a chance to go and have a look at the Simon Sinek video, I would strongly recommend it, because it does reframe the way that you think about the current situation as well. But in the meantime, look after yourself, look after your family, your friends, and your colleagues. I'll be back here again at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Hope you can join us then. In the meantime, thank you to Peter for the pep talk last night. Thank you to Leo for joining us today. Good luck to Andy Hare. Hope it all resolves itself. And I will see you all again this time, same place, same time tomorrow. Thanks for watching.